Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
Simphiwe Ngema is a South African television actress who graduated with a diploma in journalism at Boston Media House. In 2008, her career started where she was cast in the stage production called The Game. She played the character of Pretty Khumalo. She was also featured in productions such as Sheila's Day. In 2011, she began portraying the character of Thuli Nkosi in Muvango and left the show in 2015. From 2015 to 2016, she was a television presenter for a cultural show called Isiko. She then played a character of Noni Ndlovu, who is a mentally ill self-proclaimed psychologist on Mzansi Magic, Desire and Greed. In 2018, she became one of the key roles in the popular drama series Isidingo, where she played Pindile Shezi. Simphiwe's latest project on Mzansi Magic is a 3-part miniseries called Kuningi, which is a storyline about Mbali, a township event planner and a single mother who takes a life-changing wedding job only to find the groom is a child's absent father. And she uses the wedding planning to push him into doing the cultural right thing. In this show, Simphiwe Ngema plays the role of Sophie, the baby daddy's fiancée. Kuningi initially aired on Mzansi Magic Channel 161. The show can now be watched on DSTV Catch-Up. It consists of 3 full episodes. Please note that halfway through this episode, Simphiwe took out her headphones only to discover that the sound quality was better. Up next on Celeb Savant, discussing her journey in the entertainment world and her latest project Kuningi, is Simphiwe Ngema.
Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I am in Johannesburg and I am doing so great, so great. There's so many things that are coming up and I'm quite excited.
At what age, whether as a child or teenager, did you think, okay, I want to be in this creative entertainment world? And how did that journey progress?
I've always known that I wanted to be an entertainer. I think by the time I was 3 years old, I was already starting to sing and dance and all of that. So my parents definitely knew that I was going to be an entertainer. But what really solidified that hunger of entertainment and being in the industry was a show that I watched when I was in grade 10. I was about 14 years old. It was called Sarafina. And after I watched that show, I was definitely sure, without a doubt, that I wanted to be an entertainer.
Having the understanding that that was your goal after seeing Sarafina, what were the next steps for you to now actually actualize it professionally?
I had to do some research about schools that actually offer courses, drama courses, and singing and dancing. My parents were not very sure about this industry. So they told me that you already have the talent. We would rather you study something else just to make sure that if this entertainment thing doesn't work out, you have something to fall back on. So then I studied journalism instead of studying drama. But I still did my research and I found that they were offering workshops, acting workshops at the Liberty Theatre. And I started attending those workshops and I started going to auditions when I was 16. I remember my first audition was for The Lion King. I did not get the role, but luckily for me, the casting director was also the executive producer for another show that was called The Game. And I was instead cast for that show.
Having dived into the world professionally now, are there any aspects of it that you are finding or have found surprising that you did not realize would be part of the process?
Definitely the amount of times you have to audition before you actually get a role. It's really hard. And also facing that rejection, you have to kind of learn how to separate the fact that just because you were rejected from the role does not mean you don't know what you're doing. It just means that the role that you auditioned for wasn't meant for you. Another aspect was the amount of times we go without a job. You know, you have a job for about 6 months, 3 to 6 months, and then for the next 8 months you don't have a job. So the fact that it's not a stable industry was also a shock to me. But it's things that I've gotten used to and learned to understand. And that's the reason why I decided to venture into other things, just to make sure that I am sorted financially.
Going back to the audition process and the rejection, how long did it take you to get used to the feeling or knowledge that it's not about me?
Oh, it definitely took a while because I remember the first couple of auditions. I mean, you go there, you have so much hope, and you're excited that you have an audition. You get a call back and you think, oh my gosh, I'm closer to getting the role. And you don't get another call back or a screen test, and you are disappointed. Second time, you still have hope, and you're just like, you know what? I still have the energy. Let me do it. Let me do it. By the time you go for the third time, you realize that, oh, actually, this is how it works. I need to prepare myself that I might not get it, so that you prepare yourself for the disappointment, but also just learn that it's not about you. It takes a very long time to do that. But I've learned that sometimes directors are looking for somebody that looks different from what you look like. You might be good and you might be talented and you might kill the audition. But sometimes it's just little things that do not fit the character. It does take a while, but once you get used to it, then it becomes so much better.
The other projects that you're working as sort of outside of the acting, are they still in the entertainment space or completely different?
I have a business with my sister that is outside the industry. We are in the mining industry
Oh,
where we
wow.
supply mining and engineering equipment to the mines in the West Rand. But I also do influencing things, which I think are part of the entertainment industry. I also do events, which are also part of the industry. But yeah, those are just a couple of the things that I do.
What do you love about acting?
I've always been curious about how people think, and I've always been curious about the decisions that people make. So, me immersing myself into a completely different character is what I love. I love how the characters think and how the character is written and the choices and decisions that they make and the motivation behind those choices. And I just love being different and the fact that I can do the most shocking things or criminal things without the implications or without being arrested. For instance, if I had to play a villain, I can kill someone, you know, as a character, and also try and understand the psyche behind the actions of another human being. I think the curiosity is what I love about it more than anything.
You've referenced that you've played characters with sort of intensity, sort of deep or hectic themes. When you are portraying those characters with those deep, hectic energy and themes, how do you shake that off at the end of the day?
It is very difficult because you go into those emotions, you know. I remember there was a time when I played a character called Tuli on Movango, and she was going through a very difficult time. The character gets raped. And I remember that after shooting those hectic scenes, I would feel so down. And I used to leave set with those emotions. And I'd wonder, maybe driving home, that why am I getting so down? And I had to learn that you have to debrief.
Yeah.
You have to find a way of shaking it off, you know, whether it be with dancing or singing, which is what I normally do, or just listening to your favorite music and just making sure that you are leaving the character on set before you even step into your car. I also find that taking off the makeup and the clothes is something that you have to do consciously so that you know that I am taking off this character now and I'm wearing Simphiwe's clothes and this is now Simphiwe's hair or Simphiwe's makeup or whatever. That's part of my debrief.
What is the difference for you between sort of being in a short arc on a show, being in a longer show for a number of years, and then being in a film? Obviously, you bring the same energy and intention into your roles, but what is the difference for you in those different types of iterations of productions?
So when you are in a long form type of production, because you are playing this character that you're going to play for the next 3 years, you have to be conscious of not being monotonous. And also, you have to make sure that you bring fresh energy every time there's a new storyline. And you have to think of other angles that you can play the character because you don't want the character to end up being boring. I have been lucky enough that with the long form shows that I've been on, the writers did challenge my characters a lot, so I was given the opportunity to play the character differently and also just play whatever situation that she was going through to the best of my ability and make sure that she doesn't become monotonous and boring because it does get difficult to kind of get to know the same character over and over again because you are prone to falling into the trap of just playing her the same because you think you know the character. But I have realized that even with people, people have different layers. You discover those layers as you get to know them and as they face different situations of life. So I've taken that lesson into the long form shows and into the long characters that I play. Whereas with like a film or a short series, at least it has a beginning and an end. So you are able to just read the script and make sure that you are able to understand the emotions from the beginning to the end.
How important for you in your experience and in your preparation is research?
Oh, research is very important. I really wish that as South African actors, we were given enough time just to do research before you even get on set. Because what we do, people watch from a place of their own experiences. And it is so important to make sure that you don't offend someone who has been through what your character has been through by not giving it your all, by not understanding the situation and not understanding the feelings of the character. Because if you do not understand, then you won't be able to bring out those feelings and those emotions. But with research, you are able to kind of learn how people feel in certain situations, how they felt, how their emotions, and how they thought of certain things and different solutions or whatever it may be. And for me, you need to research in order for your character to be relatable to the audience.
Overseas, specifically more in Hollywood, a lot of producers are requesting simplified scripts because these days the television or the film are the second screen. So they're requesting simplified scripts because people are busy on their cell phones while they're watching. In my mind, the script should be more intense, more convoluted, more dramatic, so that the audience puts down their cell phone. What are your thoughts around this whole conversation?
And as an actor, it's kind of very difficult for me because we are so passionate about scripts, about shooting movies or shooting productions, and so much work goes into it. And the more the complicated the script, the more interesting it is for the actor and for the writers and for the creators of the movie in general. But unfortunately, the world is evolving. The truth is, people are on their phones a lot, more than they are watching TV. And so many things have changed. People do not have time to sit down and watch, which is really sad for creators and actors and the whole industry, really, because some of us went to school to study the stuff. We're so passionate about it, and we really pray and hope that when we shoot and tell these stories, we want people to actually watch and be interested and engage with whatever content that we've put out there. But unfortunately for us, like I said, the world has evolved. People want fast-paced content. They want to be consuming content on their phones and not on the TVs, or they don't even have time to go watch a movie, for instance, at a cinema or. So it is really sad. But I am one person who believes in evolving as the world changes.
I know this answer to this question will change every time I ask you this. I recognize this and I understand this. But in this moment, 5 actors, directors, producers, past or present, who would have been or are on your bucket list that you'd like to work with, top of mind. And it can be local and international.
5 top actors, definitely Jamie Foxx, Denzel Washington, Charlize Theron. I'd really love to work with Tusombedu, and I almost said Ntati Moshesh until I remember that I actually worked with her last year. But I'd really want to work with her even more, because with the film that we shot together, we weren't given enough scenes together. So I'd really, really love to shoot some more work with Ntati Moshesh locally. In terms of directors, I really, really love South African directors. I'd love to work with Zolani Pagate. I'd love to work with Ntabi Dao. Khatwe is the third director. I've just worked with Khosimang on Kuningi, but I'd really love to do something with him again, because I just think he's amazing at what he does. Yeah, I think those are top of my list.
Tell us about this latest show that you're in.
I am so excited about Kuningi. It's such an amazing, amazing story. I am in the show with Samgelo Ndlovu and KCBia. And we've been in the industry for so long, but this is actually the first production where we are in together. I loved the characters that were written in the story. My character is a very loving young woman who is driven, who is excited about getting married. But I have learned forgiveness from the character that she is, because she goes through a very complicated situation where she's a perfectionist, and she's planned this whole life and this whole future with her future husband, and they are met with such an unfortunate event. But I love that she is able to then kind of look at the challenge and be like, you know what, maybe things might not go according to her plan, and she might not be able to do things as perfectly as she would like to, but she tries and kind of goes into a space where she's like, I need to change my plan because of the situation that I'm in now. I need to make sure that I adjust. And she lets her guard down, and she kind of gives her relationship another try. I'm trying not to give away too much
Yes.
of the story, because I really, really want people to watch it and see the characters, because the story is an everyday story. It's a relationship story. It's the challenges that people face in normal love relationships. It's very romantic. I love what the writers did with the story. And I am so glad that I was given the opportunity to be part of such a beautiful production.
I love what you said about she had all these plans and things were not going to go perfectly in her mind. I find that a lot in the world, a lot of people try and keep things under control, and things must be perfect in inverted commas to a definition, which is out there somewhere that everyone thinks perfect equals this. But then life happens, and we have to deal with the situations and challenges that life unfolds.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I mean, even in my own personal life, I've had things happen that I had no control over. And life is just about adjusting and accepting that this is the situation. Find a solution, find a way forward. Don't dwell in the challenges. Always think of, okay, this is what has happened in my life. How can I resolve the situation? And if I can't, how do I then make peace with it and learn to move forward?
It's a short mini-series, correct? How many episodes is it?
Yes. It's 3 episodes.
We're looking forward to this interesting storyline and this interesting mirror of challenges, because I find, and your observation on this, television's a mirror, and if you're consciously watching it as your first screen, it gives us lessons, it gives us choices, it helps us with decisions in life, and it'll give that foundation. So when you watch television, do you allow, I'm sure you do because you are in the space, but you do allow yourself to be immersed in the story, to give it you a mirror and allow you to feel it in your world?
Oh, yes, yes. There are so many lessons that you can learn from watching the stories that we tell. Like I said, this one specifically is a story about forgiveness and not thinking that life will always go as planned, but also just adjusting to to whatever situation that you are in. I've learned so much from watching, whether it be dealing with emotions or any challenges that I faced in my life, or just watching a show that maybe has parts of my life, my personal life in, and just learning how to deal with the situations that I have faced personally. I remember it's a show about a widow. I lost my husband about 7 years ago,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and
Yeah.
I watched a show, and the way the character was portrayed was amazing. The show is called After, but and I remember the character is Zoe Soldan. I think
Yes.
it's played by her. And I remember watching that show and feeling like I can relate to every situation that she was in after she lost her husband, and feeling like she portrayed it so well that it is so relatable, and also it validates all the emotions that I felt at the time. And I feel like that's what acting is about. That's what movies are about. That's what storytelling is about. An audience has to watch and they need to feel like I can see myself in that character. And because I can see myself in that character, I will also try some of the things that if they have done so that I get to a better place in my life or find solutions in the storytelling. I believe that's what our purpose is as actors, as storytellers, is that people need to find solutions, people need to be inspired, people need to be motivated, and people just need to learn from whatever show that we put out there.
So beautifully put.
Yeah.
Simphiwe, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message to the audience, what would you like to say?
Thank you for always watching the shows that I'm on. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, we give it so much. I am passionate about what I do. And I really hope that with every character that I play, I inspire you to be better. I motivate you to be better. And personally, I would love to say, live your life regardless of what is happening in your life. Always live your truth, irrespective of what your truth is, whether you are happy, whether you are sad, because we are now in a society that wants to portray different narratives about people. They kind of tell us that everybody's happy, everybody's succeeding, and there's no realness. We live in a society of pretty pictures but sad lives. So always be conscious of what your life is like and live your truth regardless, because there are other people who have been through what you've been through in life. So just make sure that you live your truth and you are healed and you are happy.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.